Lartey, CEO Lartey Wellness Group. We're trying to do something new here where we're talking to other entrepreneurs, other successful entrepreneurs. And here we have Bebuo. I mispronounced your name.
No worries, no worries. It's Bebuo Ewa, Bebuo Christianne Ewa.
Oh, beautiful name, beautiful name. So introduce yourself to everyone, Bebuo.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is. My name is Bebuo Christianne Ewa. As I mentioned earlier, I am a leadership development and executive coach, and also a life coach, and also a social worker on the side. And I work with leaders around the world to make great impacts in their lives and hold space for them so that they can show up greatly for people like you. And if that's you, for you.
All right, so we'll go into a little bit of your story here. So you started off as a social worker.
I did. Actually, so my social work career pans out way before I could have even been a social worker. I started working as a peer social worker when I was just in high school. There was a government-based program through Seaman Society, which is based here in New York. And Seaman Society is a not-for-profit social services organization, spans out families, family support structure. And through that, I was doing peer-to-peer counseling, outreach, HIV, AIDS awareness, things like that, but also holding groups, holding circles for peers to come talk to their peers about their current traumas. Because it was like, if we're not getting through to you as adults, let's get you connected to your own people, which is your peers. And I started there and started enjoying the work, enjoying talking to people, making a difference for people. And I kept going. From there, also my dad's a psychiatrist. He's been a psychiatrist since I was, I don't know, what, 3? It's been a long time. It's been a very long time. And he's worked through ACS and all the fields. And so it was constantly in my home, cognitive work, behavioral work. All of it's always been a conversation in my home. So I just went from high school on to college into psychology, my master's in social work, then into certifications for leadership and executive coaching, while also simultaneously working in philanthropy and running 2 small businesses. So I'm a person with hands in many pots.
Yeah, very, very ambitious. All right, so you did social work. You did the peer support, and then it shifted to social work from the influences of your dad with the psychiatry and everything. And then what happened? Like, what was wrong with the social work? Why that shift to the life coaching and leadership coaching?
I don't think anything was wrong with social work. I think I made a big difference for the families that I was working with. But one thing that I noticed time in and time out, because I was doing my last full-time role in social work was an intensive in-home family specialist. And so I would go into homes where families were on the verge of losing their kids or had lost their kids and the kids were just returned. And I would go sit in, do discussions, offer behavior support, things of that nature, while simultaneously referring out, connecting them to the community, jobs, all that stuff, supporting them and getting their needs met at a basic level. And so the work that I wanted to do, the more intrinsic, internal work that I wanted to do, I didn't get to do as much because we were constantly just trying to meet their basic needs over and over and over again. And I was like, how do I actually make an impact on these people that shifts something greater? And at the same time, I needed to do 3 social work jobs just to maintain my lifestyle. I know, have a smaller lifestyle. I couldn't do it. That's not who I am. At the same time, I was also working with families who were reunifying as a parent support, teaching them parenting skills, teaching their kids behavior skills, walking through schools, doing that additional part. And then I was a medical service waiver provider in another organization working with people with cerebral palsy. So all of those pieces before I started my business.
Okay. All right. So you're doing that, and then what was that mind shift change? What was that light bulb that went off and said, "Hey"?
Mm. Uh, at that point, I did a training with ACS where they were bringing in more coaching skills into the sphere. And so I did some dynamic training. I can't remember the training, but it talked more about this idea of coaching, 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 coaching. I kept hearing the word. Then I started to do more work and I kept hearing the word more and more and more, coaching, coaching, coaching. And so I was just like, okay, well, what's this realm? Maybe there's something to explore over here. And I really enjoyed that training. I enjoyed like the TOTs, the training of trainers, all those types of things. And so I was like, okay, let me go look for more of this. I found what ended up becoming my certification program, which was accomplishment coaching, which is a training program for leaders and coaches who want to get trained in ontological professional coaching. I found them, and it's kind of history from there.
Wait. It's you make it okay. All right. So you heard the coaching, and then you got certified. And so interestingly enough, yesterday I was having a conversation with one of the therapists, right? And she's kind of like at that thing where she started her own business, and she likes she likes the counseling side of it, but she wanted to expand more into like
Mhm,
more coaching, more public
mhm,
speaking, getting those things kind of like yourself here.
mhm.
um, but it's the next thing is, okay, how then did you then start to replace that income? Right? It's one thing to say I'm certified as a coach, but now how do I imagine when you were a social worker, a lot of you got paid through an agency, and
Mhm,
maybe that agency was getting paid by the state or any type of
mhm,
insurance-based program. And so now, but then you went on, okay, now these as a coach now, insurance doesn't cover it. And so
mhm.
now I'm cash based. Walk us through that transition and give us actionable, marketable things. So somebody, 10 years, 20, however long
Yep.
years ago, like looking back on it there, what would give us some steps and then be like, all right, look, these are some steps and these are some actionable, marketable things that you can do.
Sure. So I have to say that it was a slow roll into success. It was kind of like first year, second year, third year, slow, 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 boom. And what that actually looked like was I came from a social work background. So my client base is very, very different than folks who can afford a premium service like coaching, because coaching is, in fact, a premium service. It's something that people don't usually allocate in their budget. It's, as you mentioned before, it's not something that's covered by insurance. It's a premium service. So when we look at that, and when we start to, for folks who are deciding, hey, I want to become a coach, or even just entrepreneurs in general, we're starting to look at our network. What network do I have? Who's my target audience? Who do I want to work with? Who do I enjoy being around? Because these are all the conversations we're looking at in order to position ourselves in a place where we can meet those people and get hired and expand. So first step, taking notes. Who do I want to work with? What's my focus? My focus personally is play. So I work with leaders who need to play more. Oftentimes we meet leaders and they're very stern, structured, and that's how they got to exactly where they are. But once they reach a certain place, they need to be a little bit more creative, or reflective practice could probably use some more space. And so I support and create that space. How do I find those individuals? What are the conversations? What are the places I need to be? Because I can't go on Eventbrite. Although I love Eventbrite, I can't go on Eventbrite, go to a networking mixer and meet those people. So I'm targeting, I'm getting really, really clear on the people I want to meet. After I do that, it's okay, what events? Where do I go to meet these people? How do I get in conversations? Who do I need to introduce me to these people? And coming from a background where I had philanthropic endeavors, family, my mom, multiple businesses, my dad, businesses, they also had connections, a network in itself. And so who in this network who already knows me can be that person between me and the company I want to work with? Because oftentimes it's 3 degrees between us. So that's next spot, planning. Here's the networking event I'm going to go to, which is Afrotech, or which looks like some big world conference, some big business meeting, or in the most simplest of ways, it's a bar in Midtown where I'm just going to go have conversations with people who work in Midtown, who are normally my clients. So that's step 2. Find your locations, plan, go there. Build a pipeline, that's number 3. Build a pipeline that looks expansive. On one end, we have people that you just met. In the middle, people that are like touch points, like, okay, they're like, hey, tell me more about what you're up to in the world. They're interested in the work that you want to do, and you're also interested in them. Because with my service, I have to want to work with you as bad as you want to work with me. And so that's part of my agreements, that initial phase. That's also what I'm looking at. Who do I want to work with? And so in step 3, critical, building those bonds, adding those people to my pipeline. So you're in my pipeline, we're in red, people I just met, then we're in yellow, warm leads, then we're in green. These people are, yes, they're ready. Do I have space? And how many people do I want to work with at a time? Because my whole business is about creating a transformational space for leaders to do deep reflective work. And I have to have space, and my well-being has to be taken care of. So that goes into the number of clients, it goes into my price, it goes into all of the work that I have to do to maintain my skills and expand my skills constantly, which takes up a lot of time and a lot of money. So that's kind of the pipeline. That's how it happens.
Okay. All right. So you said identify the audience, figure out where they congregate at, and then go to whatever the events to go meet them. Yeah, whoever's going to do the introduction, and then actually, all right. So then, how do you what is that pitch? What does that pitch look like? Okay, so you mentioned Afrotech. That's where me and you met.
Mhm.
For people that don't know Afrotech, what they call it, like they call it like the Black corporate family reunion, or various things you can call it. Basically, it's like a big conference in like Blacks in tech, and it's like a tech conference, but it's not a tech conference. It's so much more. And I think last year, well, I know last year it was held in Austin. This year it's also going to be held in Austin again, and it's
Awesome.
a good networking event for other folks in tech or other folks in industries. All right, so let's say you go there and you say, okay, basically you're trying to meet people with a lot of disposable income, right?
Sometimes most companies have an allocated budget for professional development. And so I fall into that category. My work is really, it's professional development, regardless of whether we're
Mm,
talking about your well-being or your next level, it's professional development. But
gotcha.
yeah, on the
So
other side is the life coaching side. And that's people with, yeah, you have to have liquid, you got to have the budget for it. Yeah.
So you're saying, so you actually target a little bit of both, but you like targeting like corporate clients. So you like going after like corporate. They already have the budget there for professional development, and then you go and make your pitch.
Mhm. To be honest, I don't even call it targeting. I This part of my business, it's structured and unstructured at the same time, because I get on a plane and I invest in first class. That's part of it. I invest in first class. I sit on a plane. I meet someone amazing. They have an allocated budget for professional development, because most companies do. And it's usually corporate leaders sitting next to me. I don't know. That's how it happens. And they're like, oh, we need you. Let's sign up for next year, because we're having conversation. Yes, coaching is a service. And so essentially you're buying into that person because you trust and believe in their ability to support you. However, it's so much more of like creating a space for people to think outside of their normal conversations and normal thought process. And so that happens everywhere. That happens in the conversation while we're both sipping wine on a jet. We're in this conversation. I'm offering you places to look and noticing patterns and listening to the way you talk about things and just reflecting it back. And people are just like, oh. And then I pull out my phone and they're like, let's sign up now. And I'm like, okay, let's go to Dubsado and sign up now. Honestly, because I thrive and value fun and play and living in the moment. And so a lot of my business, although it's very successful, a lot of it is built off of genuine conversation and relationship.
Okay. So walk me through that conversation, right? Because I'm thinking here, let's say the lady that contacted me yesterday, right? You know, I met her at this in Toronto in American Counseling Association. Like she's actually Nigerian as well. And her and her husband like they work on a business. Like she's the therapist and her husband does like the back end stuff, right? She asked me, "Oh, how do you get more speaking engagements?" I said, "That's a good idea. I have no clue." All right, so for that lady, so let's say for that lady where she wants to expand, what you're saying is the actionable thing is she needs to put herself in. Once you have your clear target audience of whatever you know your offerings, getting those clients, right? Getting those clients, you're putting you're putting yourself in an environment where those clients are just naturally there.
Yep. For her, it's not dissimilar. There are tons and tons of organizations that are looking for speakers for numerous reasons, right? Like they just need a keynote for some celebration they're having for the year, or most corporations at least have an annual experience where they're looking for at least one or more keynotes. And so it's more so about, are you networking in HR so you can be one of the people on that list? Are you putting yourself in environments where people know that you're looking for opportunities and they know what you're talking about? Have you shared like, hey, here's the thing that I want to share with the world, and then gone to those environments where people can benefit from hearing that thing? And be the one for people, be the memorable person.
Okay. So walk me through your first client. Walk me through one of your first clients, right? Walk me through, how was that experience like?
To be honest, it was hard for me to transition from looking at things through the lens of assessment and like the therapeutic side of things and moving into ontological coaching. So my first year, not just my first client, but my first year of business was such a tug and pull between like, because the coaching concepts at coaching requires a goal, a very specific goal, a very measurable goal, a very smart goal. If your client's coming in without a goal, like, hey, we don't have any goal at all, then it's like, hey, this is more so a therapeutic space. You're probably just looking for someone to just talk about emotion and all those things. And so it's a next level conversation where we're probably referring out when it comes to coaching. But my first client was without going into detail because confidentiality,
Right.
all different things. But for me, it was a struggle tugging between turning off my therapeutic mind, which is always an analysis, and choosing into the concepts of ontology, which is to be in a conversation of moving forward all the time.
Okay. So how did you meet the first client?
I met my first client. So my training program, they tell you, do not focus on marketing when you start your practice. Don't focus on
Okay.
marketing, focus on connection. And of course, I'm like, I can't do that because you all, like, your network is way bigger than mine. My network is currently
Mm.
a small pond or a small puddle. That is my comparison right now. And so I'm starting from a puddle and you're starting from Wall Street. The same. We are not the same. This is not going to work out the same. And so, of course, I went and invested $10,000 into marketing and got 2 clients from 10,000. And that was one of them.
Okay. What was your marketing channel?
Oh man, I did a number of things. What is the name of this website? I can't even remember it. There was this website for, it's not even well known anymore, but for professionals where you can offer different services. And but it was at a rate of maybe you could contribute to your marketing ads anywhere between 500 and like $5,000 per month. And I did that. I did Google ads. And this was back before they even started. I feel like this was back before Google ads was so popular and they really knew what they were doing with it when it came to the marketing, before like the algorithms and things were more unique. So Google ads, professional websites, spending thousands of dollars on getting websites done by professionals when I could have just did it myself, which I ended up doing. I relearned coding and coded my second and third website myself after 2 weeks. So, and I must have invested at least $3,000 alone in a website by a professional who worked with big businesses, who then marketed and created my website, similar to what big businesses do. However, big businesses already have organic traffic. When you're a small, and this is for anyone who's an entrepreneur, this is another tip for
Mm-hmm.
you. When you are a small homegrown business, having a big focusing on a website isn't going to do it for you because you won't get that much traffic in the first place. So focusing on like, oh yeah, I need to pay this person $5,000 to do all these great things with my website. You will do all of that and then have no traffic or 1 to 2 people coming to your website because they don't know you yet. So if we're marketing, free marketing, YouTube, put your voice out there, go places. I choose to go places and meet people face to face because 1, I love to travel, and 2, I haven't been a big social media person in the past. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more interested in meeting you, getting an experience of you, and deciding if we want to work together face to face. So.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I think this one here, um I think now the theme that I'm really focusing on is helping that entrepreneur who's struggling, right? Who's
Mhm.
struggling to get clients. We're going into what we started the second half of the year. But if there's any other themes and topics,
Mhm.
sorry, that you want to talk about, or any other things I'm missing, feel free here to jump. I mean, I think this is like, for my viewers, it's like a free coaching session, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Basically.
and for those that don't know, her rates are very expensive. I mean, she can say if she wants, but it's very, very, very expensive. And I just want to provide value, right? So especially like the lady asked me, I had no clue. Like she wanted to expand, right? And she wanted to expand the business, you know, when you're at that stage where you got to make that, okay, what's my next move?
Mhm,
Right. And I
mhm,
told her, I was like, man, look, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Like I wish I could. All right.
mhm.
So you started off and then all right. So then at what point was what was it about it that made the business grow? So you got the first client and then how did you get the next couple of clients? Right.
Mm, yeah, again, my business is built on relationship. I I looked into my network, the network that I did have, even I used my puddle to create a pond, to create a lake, to create an ocean in every sense of the word. I met with, and this, so when you're a small business, being excellent is your greatest asset. Being excellent at what you do sells itself in every way. And so that's exactly what it was. My network gave me high level leaders in varying industries. I did great work with those leaders. They brought me into their organizations. I did great work with their organizations. People who sat at tables and did workshops with me were like, hey, can I hire you one on one? Then those other people referred me out to other people. And then those organizations kept bringing me back to the table because they enjoyed my work and they felt it was excellent. So enjoyment and excellence kept showing up for these people, kept in communication with these people, and it just kept growing. The network kept growing, the ocean kept expanding, and the revenue was just a side effect of the relationship, the fun, the excellence, the choice to keep developing myself.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So essentially, um, you were able to grow organically through, let's say, word of mouth and just providing excellent value and service. So you started off somewhere, and then they referred you, and then you
Mhm,
kind of just grew for there. But it's just excellence, as you said. So you
mhm.
provided excellent service. Okay. Okay. All right. Um, what about what about like your present day? Like, obviously you have a thriving you have a thriving business like well, what are some of the new initiatives or what are some of the things that you're currently working on to grow and expand?
Oh, here's the part that I will say that I didn't mention a little bit earlier. I struggled. Year two, my friends, my family, they were like, maybe you should just go into the corporate sector and just stay there again. Or maybe you should go back into philanthropy and stay there, or go back to social work and stay there. But maybe this isn't worth it because year two and partially year three, it was kind of like, hey, let's share a plate of food together because I can't afford this. And also, I didn't own my worth, and so I didn't charge my worth. So my clients
Mm,
were creating solid value, three times in their income and their ROIs for their business, but I wasn't creating enough value and relationship to solidify my business in those first years. And one of the first people that I met as I was networking was this venture capitalist. And he was like, hey, what's your price? At that time, I was charging $600 a month for 4 sessions at 60 minutes per session, plus contacts and emails, etc. in the interim. He was like, hey, you don't charge enough for any of us to take you seriously. So it's not like I like you and I can't introduce you to my friends because they're not going to take your price as anything of value because it doesn't hurt them to work with you at all. They spend that money on dinner. Honestly, one of the best pieces of advice I ever had in business. So
mm.
I'll say
I,
that
I'm
because I did mention that earlier.
no, we did skip on it but I didn't want to like touch upon it because you made it seem very easy, but I know it's not that easy.
No.
Like there's people that have struggled. Like that thing is not. like one client leads to the next client and leads to the next client. Yeah, over time. But
Mhm.
like that thing of like, that like almost like a starving artist, right? Like when you get that first client and then like you're barely making by, you're barely making those things, and then you like I mean, were you still working the social work or did you go full time on this thing?
Mhm.
Okay.
No, no, no. I kept my last social work role until midway through year 3, when my business could actually afford me, and I still waited a while. Like my business could afford me 3 months in, about approximately 3 months in to my 3rd year. But I was like, nope, this isn't secure. Let me have a client list and have a waiting list. Let me expand out way more before I make this transition. Because year 2, as I mentioned, was struggling artist phase. Year 1 was good. I had, of course, I always had savings, things like that. Yeah, sure. Year 2 was rough. But year 3 started to even out. Year 4, 5, 6, growth, consistency,
Mm.
cool. So yeah, midway through year 3, I quit my last social services job and I went full time with my practice, and just expanded out. And I just started to work more in the coaching field, even when it came to my development. So the training program that certified me, I stayed on and kept working with them to develop my skills.
Okay. All right. So you stumbled, you what do you think was that thing that allowed you to persevere while you were still struggling?
My name means to persevere. So I think I make this joke about life that my dad named me Bebo. It's technically Bebuo, and it means to persevere in his language. And I'm like, I think my life is just meant to be a roller coaster where it's up and down. So there's an expectation of these down moments and I also gave myself no choice. I think people who give themselves no choice but to succeed will create success by any means. Will still show up,
Mm.
will do the thing that most people think is stupid, irresponsible, impossible, because there's nothing else but success.
So what were those things that you kept on doing when you were struggling? What were
Uh,
those things that you had to show up?
Going to a training program in DC when I lived in New York, sharing a hotel room with like 3, 4 people who are also training and starving coaches, functioning like that, literally sharing a plate of food and then going back to train leaders on a daily basis so I can grow my skills, get out of my comfort zone, get out of my fear, and constantly taking this information, taking the knowledge, taking the experience. But I'm also waking up at 1 in the morning to be on a 3 a.m. bus if I can't afford a hotel for the night, or sleeping. I've never had to sleep on the floor, but like sleeping in a bed with 3 or 4 people, and we're all just like taking a corner so we can keep going to our training, but times are hard. So
Mm.
moments like that,
Wow.
um, at one point, for a little while, I even had a GoFundMe to fund my training. And before this, I didn't have struggle in my life the way that I struggled to maintain and create my business. My family always
Mm.
had struggles. Life wasn't always good. My dad had struggles. My dad came from like a Nigerian background where there was war when he grew up. He came to America like in a different space with his own traumas. My mom grew up with traumas. My family grew up with a lot of traumas and a lot of experiences that impeded our life and our growth and our success along the way. So it wasn't all rainbows and bubblegum. However, I am always this warm. Any story that I talk about, any struggle that I talk about, you will still see me show up with this energy. And you will always, yeah, none of it was easy, but I will always show up with this attitude, because that's where the success comes from.
Mm. No, thank you. I mean, thank you for sharing that. Like that was real, that the struggle is real. And like a lot of people see the end result, but
Mm-hmm.
that process, that process that you went through, just in that fire, right? Constantly you find yourself in the fire, and then you just, the ironsmith is just chugging out those imperfections, and every hit when they're chugging out those imperfections is tough. It's
Mm-hmm.
really tough. And you just had that will to persevere and that will to just continue to go. I think that's like remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that was your secret, huh? Just you just
Yeah. Even my mentors, they'll be on a call and they'll be like, Bebo, nobody knows what you've been through. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot too. Like it was rough. And it's still like
yeah.
there's still ups and downs, but like the people who have watched me do it will be like, don't know. I didn't think I was going to make it at some points. They were like, I don't even know how you did this. And I'm like, I do not actually know. It was still rough, but it was, I've always had the same vision. My visions never changed, regardless of whether I had 2 clients in my roster or 20. My vision has always been the same. I'm an expansive person. I want to create I want to create a community where people feel supported, where people can be authentic, where people can be heard and continuously grow and develop, and also be who they are wherever they are in their life, and that be okay too. Because for some people come to me to stop moving because they're always up to something and doing too much. And they come here to find a space where it's okay to stop. Because
Mm,
some people associate stopping with not enough or the absence of a future versus the enjoyment of the day and the potential to look for enjoyment and creating enjoyment and simply creating joy as a future versus more, more, more. So,
mm. Wow. No, that's good. That's good. So currently right now, um, you would say, how like the your new clients that you're
mhm.
getting, is it mostly through word of mouth, or
Yep. It's long-standing relationships with businesses that I've been working with that send me more people, but also I created my retreat segment of my business last year, which I launched. And so I meet a lot of people that want to do travel and transformation. And oftentimes that becomes a funnel and more people join me because they want to experience like, oh, what does it mean to do deep work and travel and have a luxury experience? And they come in through that. And a lot of executives, people like that who need a space for well-being and relationship, and they come to me through there. So I expanded and created that. And honestly, I created that because I back in my 20s, I waited to travel internationally because I wanted to do it with a partner. And I kept waiting and 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 waiting. And then even through my like early 30s, still waited. But then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go do me. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go be in the world. Because, it's a little bit different traveling alone for women than it is for men. And so there are more nuances, there's different pieces. And so I felt uncomfortable and unsafe. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to read up. I'm a smart girl. I can do this. But then I was like, hey, what if I also create a segment of my business that brings amazing people on the adventures with me that I want to go on. And I get to do the work that I love. Because when I coach, it's honestly fun. I have fun every session, even with my clients who I'm like, you give me a headache. And they're like, you give me a headache too. So it's still witty banter, right? So created that. And now where I'm at with my business is I just got my MWBE certification, if you're familiar. So the entrepreneurs, my small business people, if you are a minority, woman-owned business, veteran-owned business, disadvantaged business, you can get a MWBE certification through your state, which is basically governments and cities have a set aside amount of funds that they have to pay out to minority and women-owned businesses, disadvantaged, disenfranchised businesses, and you access that through this certification. Let me say this now, I will preface this conversation. That certification is a doorway to more certifications to get to those contracts. However, that's where you can begin. Once you're in, hey, all the other doors are a little bit easy, same amount of paperwork though, so I'm sorry. But also with that, you gain access to a segment of federal funding as well, federal business, government contracting, things of that nature. So you gain access to those bigger contracts or to being a partner on a subcontract with those bigger organizations. It's access, it's free resources, free accounting, support. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely wrap up the recording here. But any final words?
I'd be curious for the people who find themselves at a plateau and find themselves in a place where they're on the verge of in that same question that I was in of like, oh, should I give up? I think a different angled question is, what are you doing it all for? And where does your story about giving up come from? Is it your story? Is it the story that everything in the world is telling you to do? Is it backed up with evidence for or against? And if so, do you care? That's it.
How can people get in contact with you if they want to reach out to you for your services or just reach out and say hi?
Yeah, sure. So I believe you can schedule, no, you can't schedule time with me, but you can reach me. You can send me a brief email or a contact note on my website, and then you can schedule time with me from there. Or if you want to schedule a consult, anything like that, you can also do that through my website, which is www.christianneandco.com, which is CHRISTIANNEANDCO.com, or reach out on LinkedIn, Bebuo Christianne Ewa.
And we'll put her details in the description below. Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you, Bebuo, for this wonderful, wonderful story. Your journey is definitely remarkable and definitely inspiring, and appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.